we talked about this 2 weeks ago. All 5 of us had to voice our opinion and vote. We all voted yes, and this was on the website, new website that Carrie and Corey Parent are working on for $77,400. I would make a motion, we approve this warrant.
Second.
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Last one, Stan,
The
infrastructure.
last one is dated December 21st, 2020. It's an infrastructure warrant for the salt shed. They have Connor Construction for $59,325. Accent Consulting for $2,092. And Accent Consulting was alpha testing for concrete. So the total was $61,417. I would make a motion that we approve this warrant also.
Second.
And just one minor thing on that one, I think they're actually paying the company that's doing the
Alpha testing.
alpha testing.
Yeah.
Yep. The check wasn't actually made out to Matt. Ascent Consulting.
Okay, so Jessica seconded the motion. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Perfect. So we're through the warrants. We're on to minutes. We have the minutes of Monday, December 21st, 2020. Started at 5:30 with a budget meeting, and we recessed and then came back into our regular board meeting at 6:30. Does anybody have any comments or questions about that set of minutes, or would anybody like to make a motion to approve them?
Make a motion, we approve the minutes of December 21st.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. So we've been warning special select board meetings every Monday at 3 o'clock for our design team meeting. In case, I know that Jonathan and Stanley have been on the town hall committee, and then I've been showing up more as the design team got hired out to help with some of the technical aspects and to just voice opinions. And I got to say, we did hire a top-notch crew of people. I feel very fortunate that we're able to work with them. My question, I guess, for staff is, should we be keeping the FFF minutes that they're taking and adopting them? Technically, we haven't met with a quorum maybe once, but I'm just wondering if we're falling in the cracks there a little bit on warning special meetings, maybe having a quorum of us show up and then not having minutes. But we can discuss that tomorrow. I just wanted to say it out loud while I was thinking of it before I forgot. I don't need to put anybody on the hot seat.
I'm not sure that we have had a quorum of the select board, and I don't think if we did, you didn't spend any additional town funds. We do that in an abundance of caution, but you haven't as a board made a motion to do anything at any one of those meetings. So it'd be much easier if we knew that there's only going to be 2 of you, that we didn't warn them, because people might be thinking we're ignoring it, but you haven't made a decision to date as a board.
Let me make a note. We'll email the 3 of us that have been going tomorrow, and we'll see if all 3 of us want to keep going or not, and we'll adjust accordingly. And then I'll dive into open meeting law a little bit, because I know if we have a budget work session, we keep a set of minutes and adopt them, just saying that we had a budget work session. So I don't know if we need to be doing the same thing for the town hall committee meetings. And then I'll go back through all of the Freeman, French, and Freeman minutes, because we have been taking minutes. It's been very helpful. And if we had a quorum at any of those meetings, I'll bring it back in a couple weeks, and the 3 of us that had attended will adopt them, and we'll just cross it off the list. If we have to do anything, I just wanted to have that discussion while it was on my mind.
You might just have to say that you warned the meeting, no quorum was met. So that recording, we can record that. In the next meeting, a quorum was met, yet no decisions were made, that kind of thing.
Yeah, if we have to do that, we'll do it. If not, we won't, but just to.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so we're on to agenda item number 4. If nobody has any more questions about minutes, and that's public comment. Is there anybody here to make a public comment? see two people here that are not directly employed by the town, and neither of them have unmuted. So we're going to move on to agenda item number 5, which is the town manager's report. And it looks like we've got an interesting report in front of us. I'll hand that off to Carrie.
Thank you. Yeah, so per the last meeting or two, Corey Parent and I, mostly Corey, has been working on the credit manual part of the stormwater utility. He's got 3 bullet points he's going to cover here. 3 topics, I should say. So he's going to start with the credit manual, move on to briefly review the job description, and then go over the schedule, which we talked about at length a lot this fall, but we're circling back on all of them. So I'm going to hand it off to Corey.
Yep. So as my understanding, I wasn't part of the staff when you guys passed the stormwater ordinance, but quickly got up to speed that one of the concerns was how do we effectively make whole or do our best to recognize the work that commercial property users who've done stormwater work, mitigation work are giving credit, if you will, on their bills for the work that they've done. Just so you know, the state of Vermont only will be the 7th municipality to put in a stormwater utility. 5 are actively running now. Shelburne's in the same process, I think just a few months ahead of us in getting theirs going. The 5 that are running have a credit manual in place. So it's not us doing something that's out of the norm. This credit manual that's in your packets was designed, it looks a lot like Colchester's, which is the most current one, with some adjustments for us. Most of our criteria and definitions all, the only one that's really a little bit outside the norm on the 5 is Burlington's, but Burlington looks a lot different than, the town of St. Albans or South Burlington or, Williston. So ours fits pretty well. The most credit that any one property can get is 50%. So you still have folks who, everyone's still paying. The only places where that are different, there's a technical piece around offsite mitigation for people who own multiple properties. Municipalities and the state of Vermont, basically an MS4 community, us, we give ourselves a 35% credit. And then the state of Vermont takes a 35% credit, whether we give it to them or not. That's just what they do for their roads and everything there. And then, the rest of them are given out for basically putting in best practices on their properties. We do offer a credit to school systems. So really the complex, I think, is the only one who would fall into this if, and that's standardized. And then, we also offer agricultural credits to farms who are meeting requirements with the state for the required agricultural practices. At a high level, there's nothing in here that's really outside the norm. Our agricultural ones, some of the communities like St. Albans City doesn't have one because they don't have a farm in the city. We do. We gave a little more, I believe it was Williston's the only other one that has an agricultural credit. They give a 10% credit. Our planning commission thought 35 would make sense to kind of give in with municipalities and the state kind of that credit, but they don't get it just for being a farm. Again, they have to be meeting the state agricultural required management practices and get, a sign off from the state that they're doing that. And, and again, just kind of, I'm trying to go over it quickly because these can get technical. All of our credits have to be signed off on by an engineer from, with a license in the state of Vermont. So anyone who applies for this credit is going to be showing us engineering plans and that they're, these are up to speed. They have to recertify every 2 years, making sure they're keeping them up to speed. So you're really not going to let anyone out of paying any of their stormwater fees unless they're truly doing the right thing. But it also gives an opportunity for folks who are concerned about costs. I talked to all the towns that do this. They typically only see about a 2 to 3% of their overall revenue taken up to fees. They're not that widely utilized. I think, they're good to have. I think we have one that someone who's helping a company in any of the other towns and stormwater utilities will recognize the language. It matches almost verbatim what 4 of the 5 communities have, again with some slight adjustments. But happy to answer any questions that the select board has about the credit manual or any of the policies within it.
Aaron, did you have anything you wanted to add from the planning commission's perspective, or do you think Corey pretty well covered it?
I think Corey covered it very well. I think that, what I think impressed the planning commission is just just how in-depth Corey went, and really did a thorough job vetting all the other available credit systems that are out there, and then right-sizing this credit manual to meet the needs of our town and our community, and also the utility. So I feel we are in line with other communities that are also having stormwater utilities. It is a document that an engineer who's helping a business that has sites both in Williston and in St. Albans could look at and understand and recognize. We tried very hard to keep the language as consistent as possible so that there wouldn't be more time put on staff to have to explain the differences between the manuals. So again, it was looking at what was out there, being consistent, and then also just right-sizing it to what our needs are. I think the increase in the credit for agriculture reflects the vital nature of agriculture in our community, and those sites and the work that they're doing. And the Planning Commission had a really robust conversation about this document. And I feel that it was vetted really well. It was put together very well. And I think that we can feel pretty confident about it.
That being said, I did want to add, this is not available. We don't give credits to homeowners, like the single family properties. This is just for commercial properties.
Homeowners associations, right?
We do homeowner associations, but that's a larger entity. But the average homeowner isn't going to get 50% off their $60 bill, if you will. That no one offers that of the other communities. It's just primarily for commercial users and homeowner associations.
Do any other of our 3 board members have a comment or question for Corey or Aaron? Or I would like to say that Aaron and I spent 45 minutes of everybody else's lives that I bet they wish they could have back discussing the vital nature of this, and to see it to come together so well. I heard that the Planning Commission had a special meeting to fit this in to get during the holidays or just before to get this to us.
In between.
In between the holidays last week, they had a special meeting so that this could land at our doorstep. So we've got a really good development review board. I hear no complaints from anyone who processes applications through them. We've got an excellent planning commission, and we've got a strong staff, and I like to think we've got a really good select board too. This credit manual, and I want to applaud the commission and then Corey for being common sense oriented and looking at what other utilities had already done and placing us in line with them. I imagine that saved us thousands of dollars in potential consulting fees that we could have expensed, and it got it done a heck of a lot faster than what was quoted, when Aaron and I originally had that debate months ago. So we're ahead of the game, and I feel very honored to be able to work with all of you, staff, volunteer level, select board level. It's awesome, and this is very indicative of the culture that we're building. This one piece. That kind of segues well into the job description. I had a couple of comments that are pretty well grounded in executive session. I'm wondering if we have an executive session to discuss a personnel matter at the end of this meeting. I'm wondering if we could shift that job description discussion to that part of our meeting. And then we don't have to make any motion. So I guess I just have a quick question for the town manager, but I would like to believe it does fall under executive session. So Does anybody have anything that they felt strongly should be said in the public, or any questions that they feel like couldn't be answered in an executive session about this job description? Seeing nothing come up, we're gonna move that discussion. So Corey, you've got a pretty well-built schedule.
Yep.
So
So just
walk us through it.
Yeah, so just kind of take you guys where you've been and where you're going, and why I asked the planning commission to meet in between the holidays. I think that part will make sense, and I shared this with them a few weeks ago. You guys obviously in September passed an ordinance, and then at the end of November, the 60-day notice period kind of went through. We've had some I've had conversations with every other utility in the state about what it takes to actually stand this thing up and get it going. And I, again, understand the political nature of the discussion with this board on that, the credit manual, understanding there was a need to get that in place for this to go forward. So prioritize that. That being said, moving forward, I think one of the big things is getting that position finalized and getting someone hired. There is, believe it or not, a lot of work that needs to happen in this utility. And I think the first year, the person, whomever we hire, is going to be spending a lot of time answering questions and just, figuring out, helping town residents understand the utility and in the work going forward. So I, on the agenda, I have, for you guys to talk to Carrie about that and have the go ahead there. I've been reaching out to, so you guys saw a budget for the stormwater utility when you passed the ordinance. That needs to be revised. There are a number of things. So we need to get exact measurements of our commercial properties and our roads and all those, all of our impervious surface. So I've reached out to Northwest Regional Planning, and they are going to be working with us to measure all the impervious surface on commercial properties, municipal property, basically the non-single family home properties, as well as roads, private roads, public roads, city or town owned and state owned, so we can get an exact measurements there. I expect that to be back at the end of February. At that point, I've already started discussions with NEMRIC. NEMRIC does our billing for property taxes. They have a utility module, and they will be the ones who help us load the information we have on impervious surface into a billing software and being able to bill, going out to users. It is my hope, that'll take a few months. I expect that hopefully to be up and running, by around May 1, with bills going out to customers for July 1. That's the goal I'm working on, so we can kind of get on a fiscal year start here. I expect sometime in May to have an updated budget. I know you guys looked at fees in the budget. I think we're going to see some significant movement there. I think, we missed, for full disclosure, when you passed the ordinance and that $65 rate there, you didn't include any of the impervious surface for state-owned roads or town-owned roads. And quick calculation for me shows that that's about $100,000 worth of fees. So immediately, this policy discussion for you guys in May will be looking to reduce that fee potentially and or increasing that budget. But I don't want to have that discussion until we have the exact number of square feet of impervious surface, so that everyone, it's kind of like a rate setting meeting, if you will. But I think it's going to be important, again, the push on the job description is to have someone on board around April 1 to help us out, just because there's going to be a lot of education work. One of the pieces of advice I got from Williston was to take the time and and even spend the money if needed to do a big PR campaign, because he said in the first week of their bills going out, he had 400 calls from constituents because they didn't do a PR campaign. So he spent the first 2 months of his, you know, of the utilities time, literally getting back to people and explaining billing and a credit system. And not that you won't have that, but if you can kind of do it ahead of time and provide information to folks, you can get ahead of that. So the timeline really just, you know, it seems like a long time, 6 months, but the steps that kind of have to take and what we have to wait, you know, it's like building a home. You've got to have the plumber and the electrician in before you put the sheetrock up. And so, you know, we've just got to, you know, get some steps done. But, you know, my goal is to have this thing, you know, ready to be operational before 7/1, but, you know, Bill's going out 7/1 and testing it and, you know, having, you know, a budget to you guys in the May timeframe, with a stormwater coordinator on hand and, you know, a lot more concrete answers to the projections that you guys looked at 6 months ago, if you will.
Anybody have any additional questions for Corey about what we just covered? I don't want to jump into the weeds too hard, but I'm wondering if you could look into a couple things for us, Corey and Carrie. One, I'm wondering if any of the other 6 towns that are doing this had exempted their municipality from having to pay for their impervious surfaces, because
They
it's
haven't.
not a one.
Nope.
That's probably half a cent on our grand list just to start funding that. We should probably get that into our budget then. We should probably talk in the next week or so and figure out what that bill is going to be. That way we can afford to pay it when the time comes.
I don't know what that bill will be until we have an exact measurement of all of our impervious surfaces. And then the discussion becomes for you guys is what your rate is per ERU. With
Maybe, should
the
we,
increase in impervious surface, you might be able to reduce that fee some, but I mean, I can give you a ballpark number to budget.
maybe you and Alan could work on a ballpark number just to get it within 5-10 grand. That way, if we end up having to pay 50,000, we're not trying to find a cost center to take it from at the expense of another issue. But maybe we don't need to do that. We can just find it somewhere else when the time comes. My other question is, some other utilities owned by Franklin County municipalities have gotten in hot water from mingling funds or commingling. And I know that our intention, and it's the only way to do it, is to loan the stormwater utility startup capital. And you know, we're going to be expensing stuff for the education campaign, the employee. I bet you the NEMRIC module isn't going to be free. So maybe in the next month we put together a budget for that, and then maybe look at what kind of a vehicle we'd like to use to document that. I don't mean to dive too deep into the weeds, but I would almost like to see the town and the utility make a promissory note for that amount, have in the note that we'll pay as invoiced by the utility up to a certain amount, and that it's due back within so many days of July 1st, even if it's 90 or 180 days. We just want to start the future select boards off right with precedent on how to interact with the utility. It's the only one we'll have ever had. It's very important to draw the line. I'm sure you guys will come up with something for that. And then to found the utility, all we need is the ordinance, right? There's no, everybody that works for the utility still falls under our internal policies. You know, it's a separate entity, so to speak, but it's owned, it's a subsidiary of. So I guess my question is, if you have a moment, I know you're going back to the State House soon, if you could look and see if our personnel policy needs any type of an amendment to cover a utility, or if you think that they're just covered, you know, because I don't want to get into the weeds of, you know, having to make a personnel action against a utility employee and then have to dive into the weeds then. It's just, it might make sense to just amend it before we even hire the person. Just to stick a sentence in somewhere saying that the utility, all employees of the utility are covered by the same policies. Probably already did that. Other than that, that's all I've got. Anybody have anything else? Anything in general for Corey? See, we moved pretty quickly on the website. We already had an invoice in front of us. Hasn't even been 2 weeks.
We've had a good start there, and The RFP is issued for the logo. Those projects are moving along nicely.
Perfect.
I was wondering, as far as the logo goes, are we going to have any sort of public input on that? Like a way for people to give ideas or even to give feedback on a few mock-ups? I just think it'd be a neat way to engage people.
We certainly can. At this point, we're just getting the bids in, mid-January for who's bidding on the project. I know I sent it out to half a dozen marketing firms in Vermont. And then it's on our website. But the original goal, we're definitely going to engage employees in the various departments. Buy-in from the fire department and public works and all of that. But happy to, if you have any suggestions, reach out to Carrie or I and let us know on what we can do for some input, for there.
Kind of worth noting, we might have stumbled into something really nice as far as being able to pay homage to the original St. Albans. Every presentation I do, I ground the color palette in blue and yellow to match the original flag of St. Albans. And Corey actually did a deep dive research, and the main charter school in St. Albans, UK, their crest is blue, yellow, and then red on top. So our fire department covers blue and yellow, and our public works department covers red. And we've got an ability to point back and make all those colors make sense in our brand, and then simultaneously pay homage for where our roots are. And then we also Corey found, and I am going to take 10% of the credit because that's what politicians do. He found out that St. Albans, West Virginia, was actually named after St. Albans, Vermont. And it was kind of like a backdoor thing. Somebody named St. Albans, West Virginia after somebody else's hometown who was from here, kind of as a salutation to that individual. So, the more research we do, this is a pretty special place. I think we're going to shake loose a few good nuggets like that, and we're going to share them. So it's going to be a really interesting process. But Jessica, I hear you loud and clear when you say we need to engage the public and make sure that, and when we find things like that it gets out to everybody and engages.
It's likely the timing will be tight, Jess. And it won't be the people who vote by mail, but we could have the 3 concepts by town meeting day that you might be able to just allow people to fill out a little slip as they come through and put it in a box as an unofficial tally.
Oh yeah, that would be fun. I just think it's like people are feeling really kind of down right now with winter and COVID. It could be something fun what the town's doing that they feel like they can have some input on.
We've also been looking for good top-notch photos for our website. Sorry to cut you off, Aaron. If anybody has any, we have 1 million sunset photographs, but anything good of landscapes or any particular main part of the town, if you've seen it throughout your work, just let us know. Aaron, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. I just want to check, did we need to make a motion to accept the credit manual draft?
Yes, I have that right here on before you move on to Alan. I have it right here for you before we move on to Alan. So does anybody have any further questions about the credit manual, or would anybody like to make a motion to adopt? I guess before we do that, that's another question. Did the stormwater utility, we recessed to become the liquor control board? Should we be the stormwater utility commission? Should that be something that's somewhat separate? Or do you think that since it's the only one we own, we can still operate as a select board? I mean, I know the ordinance allows it, but I guess I'm wondering what the practice is.
Looks like we lost Carrie.
I don't know the answer to that, Brendan. I can ask how the other towns handle that this week and get back to you on that.
You guys did a great job getting it to us, so we definitely have to adopt it
being
tonight.
said, all the credit manuals were adopted by select boards, and they all say what date they were adopted by the select board, not a utility commission.
Anybody would like to make a motion to adopt? Going once.
I'll make a motion to adopt this stormwater utility
Credit manual.
credit manual. Sorry.
Second.
Jonathan with a second. I'm gonna write this down in case Carrie can't hear. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Jen, can you hear us okay? Is everything going all right? I know you're not in the same room with Carrie, but I know you're taking our minutes too.
Yep, I can hear everything just fine.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm wondering, do we know, I don't know if we know if Stan heard that we had the motion and if he had a chance to make comment or second, or not.
Try to
second, sorry.
send.
Yeah, I think makes sense to reach out to Carrie or Stan just to see.
Yeah, I just sent them a message through. Trying to. I sent her a direct message. I'm gonna try to. While we deal with a technical difficulty, do we want to take a 10-minute recess to try to figure this out? I don't want to move on to Alan's portion of the town manager's report without the town manager. It might take a good couple of minutes to get it figured out. Oh, Stanley, you had a question about the
I had a
credit
question
manual?
to Corey. Hey, Corey, so the 10-year projection that we had for costs per EU going up 2% a year is no longer good. You're going to come up with a new cost.
Yeah, that number was based on impervious surface for just single family homes and a subset of commercial lots. It didn't include camps. It didn't include roads and other things that you guys have in the ordinance. So I think you're basing off about 5,400 ERUs. My guess is your ERU count's going to be significantly higher. So you're going to be able to do one of two things: increase the budget or reduce the fee and come in at the same budget line. That's a policy decision for you guys, but I think, give me, a month or two to work with regional planning to get the exact number of square footage of impervious surface, and I can come to you with a couple of options so you can see what all those look like. Carrie and I can put together some ways for you guys to move forward, but I think it'll be I think it'll likely it'll create a significant change in that fee structure one way or another.
The second question is, who does the billing? The utility itself?
So where we're going to be different than a lot of towns is I think we're going to be the only town to do this that doesn't have a water and wastewater department, that they typically bill via your water bill. We don't have that ability. So we're going to use the same system that they use for their water bills that we use for our property taxes. But you guys are going to have a decision: do we send a separate bill or do we add it to the property tax bill? And so up to you guys how you want to handle that at some point. But and I'll get from Nemrick way it works, but we'll be different where, I pay it on a couple properties in St. Albans City. It's just part of my quarterly water bill. They divide it by 4, my annual fee, and I pay it as part of that. So, but ours will come out, it'll come out of the town clerk's office, just like a property tax bill would. You just will have a different enterprise fund, if you will, of where the money goes.
Utility, not enterprise. We paid a lot of money to get legal definitions over the years. And it only took you 3 meetings to point out that we don't have municipal water and sewer. So you made it like 2 more meetings than most people do when they come to the town. Anyway, now Stanley, are your questions addressed? Do you have any more?
Yes, I'm trying to look at the whole picture. And this utility, is it standalone or is it part of the DPW? Are they going to have their own designated vehicle, whatever they need? Or is it part of our current DPW?
There's the discussion ultimately up for you. I think, they have been housed in DPWs, but my perspective here is because we don't have a water department, that's usually part of that, is this might end up being its own department, if you will. just because of, we don't have a ton of departments in the town, but to me, I think for what we need to do the next couple of years, and the work our DPW is already doing, it might make sense to have this be a standalone department. But again, up for you guys to ultimately decide those questions.
The funds are kept separate in the utility, but the personnel stuff is, it's a little less clear. But Corey and I've talked about this pretty.
I'm just trying to understand
Mhm.
how it all is gonna fit together and who's responsible for what. Because there's a lot of work to do in the utility if somebody is disturbing ground, digging up the earth. It
Mhm.
calls for somebody to check on it. It's
Correct.
a lot of work.
Yeah, and this person, because it's gonna be one person, is gonna be a jack of all trades, because they're also gonna be applying for grants and dealing with billing. They'll be the one answering billing questions and helping Anna's staff with that. So there's as much as an administrative person as they're gonna be a technical person. And that's kind of the thought back and forth on the debate. And because it's its own budget and its own entity, does it make sense for it to be a clean, its own entity? And then if we use them on other projects, do like a build back type situation. I think being a utility, it makes most sense to be its own silo, just for protection on precautions and all of that stuff. That's what leads me to go there.
Like if we give an office space in the new town hall or Department of Public Works facility, we should charge utility rent. We should get that deep into separating the two entities. Just because it gets so easy. We've seen it with locally owned electric utilities in other towns, water and sewer utilities. When it gets time to make a tough financial decision, we don't want any future select boards to be able to look at the utility as a pot of money to take from and plug holes. Don't separate. It's not even an enterprise. It is a utility. Yeah.
Okay, I'm satisfied with my.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, I think you kind of got to look at it as it's not a typical department, and that's what I've struggled with. It is, but because it's a utility, and we give it that name, and it's regulated by those rules. I just think a silo makes it as clean as possible without people asking questions. There's a clear silo between how dollars are spent in and out of it, because every dollar going into it needs to be spent towards water quality and stormwater quality, if you will, in that capacity.
Well, and I think honestly, one of the other projects that we were working on, Corey and I anyway, was a chart, an organizational chart for the municipality, just to make it clear for everyone where this new utility is in line with all the other departments in town. So Stan said he's satisfied with that answer. I don't know if you heard him.
Yeah.
Perfect. So Stan, how would your vote have been recorded if we could have heard you when we had the motion to adopt the credit manual? You voted for or against it?
Until I see more of what the cost is, I looked, since I've been involved in town politics here, we've spent $560,000. And it's like the state of Vermont. Not any of it I know has gone in, maybe 3 projects to clean the water. The rest has been study, and study. So we're done studying. If we're gonna go and do something, I'm for it.
And we'll take that positive upswing energy and we'll.
I take it to be positive if it continues up.
Perfect. We're on a good track. We have Corey, the planning commission, Carrie, and all other staff helping out. Thank you for that. Let's. Does anybody have any further questions for Corey about anything stormwater related before we move on to Alan? Okay, so Alan, the floor is yours, sir.
All right. So the first thing on the agenda was the parking area near the dock. Part of a plan from a while ago, even before trying to get the state to let us take the road over is making that parking area a little bit bigger. I've got with Nancy Patch, there's a Normandy maple that's right near the parking lot. It is dying. I've got an email from the state forester. So what I'm going to be doing is taking that tree out of there, extending that parking lot, so we'll have 90-degree parking instead of the angle parking near the dock, just as a update. That way people saying that we're taking trees down and stuff, it's legit. The tree's not actually allowed in the state of Vermont anymore. You can't plant that style tree anymore. 2021 paving schedule. I've signed the contract. It's just a continuation of this year's contract, but they agreed to do the same pricing per ton for our roads this year. This way our garage will get the top coat, our roads will get paved. The only little difference is it's a little bit of an upcharge on tonnage for around the salt shed. And the reason for that is because of all the handwork that they have to do within the building. And then as far as the salt shed update, our salt shed is complete as far as the building goes. No asphalt inside of it or around it. And they'll come back in the spring. They still got a few berms and swales to put in. All part of the runoff and water part of it. But as far as the building structure, that's all set. Once the paving's done, then the doors will go into place. So overall, everything's coming along good.
Perfect. So we could be getting a new town hall in a freshly paved Bay Area.
Yes.
Looking like things are lining up pretty well.
Stan has a question.
It's back to Alan. Alan, some of this is good news. So Pike is willing to give us the same price as they offered last year.
Yes. It's a continuation. It's the same price. And as we all know, with COVID, with the prices of everything going up, I think this is a great deal for the town. Same exact price. And when I look back at our qualifying bids last year, their milling prices are about $2 a square yard cheaper than anyone else. So I think it's a good deal for the town to be locked in already. The other nice thing is the paving will be done later May, 1st of June. So before the new fiscal year starts, our paving in the town will be all done, giving us a chance to focus on other stuff to get done in the town.
Well, this will be the first time then if it gets done that early.
That's correct.
So Carrie, can we accept this now?
I don't think we need to sign it, but if we find out we do, I can at any time. Oh yeah, did you? Sure, on the second page. Yeah, we can sign it. I think Alan just wanted to, let everyone know all of these locations, because honestly, if anything, it's conversation going, it seems to be what we're paving and when we're doing it, so.
Usually Whipton comes in
Yep.
and Pike. And
They do.
So if we can, if the
can,
board agrees to have Alan or Carrie sign it, it's probably a great move.
and it's certainly allowed in case somebody was thinking it was in our purchasing policy.
Continuation of a contract. So
Well, I mean, it's allowed part of our purchasing policy anyway, so it's a good deal.
what do you think, Brendan?
No, I like it. I don't think that the price of crude will remain this low in the next administration for various reasons. I don't think market looks like it's going to go back to where we were the spring and early summer last year with low traffic. I think if anything else, as the vaccine rolls out, people will be traveling more and the price of crude will go up accordingly. So good work, Alan, and everybody who locked that down. I don't think we lose on this in any way. So I think we just put this one to bed the first week of January and know that it's going to be done early. So you, like you said, Alan, you can focus on some other items later in the summer.
And hope they can get to us time frame they're talking about. Good job, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
Mhm. I wanted to add too, I looked at the Mark Fenton report for that area, and that's exactly the parking that he recommended to make it safer. So
Mhm.
hopefully it'll set us up nicely when we finally take over that road and can redo some of the other, safety features that we want to put into that intersection. Another thought I had, I was wondering if for future paving, if there's a way to just look at the road and see if there's any changes that we would want to make before it gets paved. Like, for example, when we did that demonstration on Maquam Shore, if people had liked the wider shoulders for biking and there was room in the right of way, that might be a good time to maybe widen that road and paint it differently. So I was wondering if there is something we could do before we commit to paving roads in the future, to give us that time to look at it for a minute and think, oh, well, maybe this is a good opportunity to make it more bike ped friendly. I know some towns have complete street policies.
Mhm.
And the state has a complete street checklist that we could use.
Alan, do you want to address that? Or
Well, I mean, that's kind of a policy thing at this point.
it is, but I
I
mean,
mean, Alan can do it if we ask him to do it because it's gonna have more money, so we're gonna have to make sure. Can't stretch that any thinner, but it'd be a good thing to build into the process because Alan already does that with culverts and anything that's on the road before he's getting ready to pave it. He preps all those things, so he'd have to also consider this if the board wanted to do that.
Jessica's not wrong that we should use this 10-year cycle as a way to touch on more than just bike ped even. We should look at
Yeah.
speed limits. We should look at development. We should look at what we've issued permits on for future development. And we should look at all intersections. Like Alan, the church, Patton Crosby, Little County, Georgia Shore, that whole area right down there, it's kind of a really weird intersection. My guess is in the next 10 years, we'll probably plan to do it a little differently. We definitely need to get it paved this year, but do you think we could build some kind of a checklist that had maybe 10 criteria on it, not to sound like Act 250, but criteria to review every time we look at paving a road, and then maybe we could do it like 2 to 3 years ahead of time. It seems like it'd be pretty simple since we only have so many roads.
That is the best thing. We got to think at least 2-3 years out ahead because it does take a lot of planning and time and money. The intersection I've discussed with certain ones and that is a funky intersection, and I am working on trying to change that down at the corner of Church and Little County. But it's totally up to you guys with the spending of the money, but I definitely think if we're looking at widening roads, it's a 2-3 year process out from now that we got to start looking at.
Well, like the CIP has, I want to say 6 figures in it every year, starting in year 2 for, sidewalk projects, essentially, bike and ped. And it also has public works money and parks and rec money too. So there's ways that we could, build out not a master plan because things change so often. It's probably not worth doing any further than a 2 to 3 year look ahead. But if we could have a list of, different things to look at and adjust, and then, work through that process, but maybe start on that, maybe this summer and the fall for the roads that are on the schedule for, 36 months from now. Maybe if we could lay the groundwork, because I think it'll be a pretty easy process, maybe one extra meeting a year. And then, of course, it's more staff time, but we know you're the Energizer Bunny and it's public works, so we can handle it, right? So that's a good idea, Jessica. And I think we could expand it to speed limits, because I had a complaint on Lower Newton from a neighbor saying, we're building all these houses out here and the speed limit's still 50. Does that still make sense? And maybe it doesn't. But, if Lower Newton's on the paving schedule for, 2 years from now, maybe we could have that discussion and, plan to make adjustments to the road ordinance as we go. But it
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, I just think it could be a good opportunity, and it would in the end, be more cost effective than doing a project when we're not paving. And Lower Newton's a good example. People are going really fast. And I know this summer, I saw so many people walking out there and they just were like looking all around them the whole time, terrified of getting hit because the shoulder's so narrow. And that road's hard because of the ditching, but I don't know, there might be opportunity somewhere. I just think it's worth taking that pause and doing an evaluation to see what the potential is on a road.
Perfect. Maybe this turns into a road review policy or something. Maybe we build it into the roads ordinance. But that's a good discussion. I think we should continue it. Alan, do you want to take like 4 weeks to think on it? And maybe something for the first meeting in February? We can, touch on it for 15, 20 minutes and then just keep working on it a little bit at a time and giving you time to implement any changes.
Sure.
That sound okay with you, Carrie?
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Brendan,
And I can find some samples, Alan, too, and help on that.
hey, Brendan, tell your neighbor that it's 40 miles per hour down on the lower end of Newton Road. It's only 50 where the state owns it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Is it?
It's,
Out by me, it's 40.
yep,
If I drive this road tomorrow and find a speed limit sign that says 50 or no speed limit sign at all, are you willing to eat your hat?
sure.
Okay.
I
I'm gonna go
didn't-
for a ride in the morning. And if I'm right, I'm going up to see you and I'm taking a video. Just tell me what you want for condiments. So, does anybody have any additional questions for Alan? A good discussion. Hearing none, we got noticed on an Act 250 application. Does anybody have any questions about that for staff? Seeing nobody's heads moving up and down, we'll move on to schedule. We've got Tuesday, the 19th and Monday, February 1st. We need to have a budget meeting to finalize the FY22 budget. Should probably do that. Maybe we should do it Monday or Wednesday the 20th. Would anybody have any issue with having a second meeting in the same week, 2 nights in a row to do that?
Well, we have a regular meeting on Wednesday, the 20th. I was proposing to meet earlier on the 20th because Monday's a holiday.
Yeah, I'm looking, it says our next meeting's on the 19th in our packet. So if we change it to the 20th, I just went over my head. So if we want to do,
No, yeah, sorry.
okay, no big deal at all. So we're thinking we're gonna have the final numbers on the town hall project on the 19th. So
Right.
we're gonna meet on the 20th. Why don't we meet on the 20th at 5:30 and then have a regular meeting at 6:30? Does that work for everybody? Okay, so Wednesday, the 20th, plan on being friends for like 3 hours because that's probably how long it'll take.
Brendan, question.
Yes, ma'am.
Because the holiday is Monday and the planning commission is not meeting on the 19th, it was pushed to the 19th. It was only put on the 20th because in years past, the planning commission and the select board both met the 2nd and 4th days of the month, and now that's not the case. So the 19th is available for the regular meeting.
Thinking we might want to leave one more day. I think every day we leave for the design team to throw our town hall number together is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I appreciate the note, Jen, and if we didn't have that number playing in, I would probably be all over your suggestion.
All right, got it.
Thank you.
So I was looking at my papers, not your faces. So do we get consensus that we can start at 30 on the 20th?
I'm okay with 5:30 on the 20th.
Is that okay?
Right, so we're in
All right, cool.
20th, 5:30 for an hour to finalize the budget, and then we'll go through the rest of the articles during the regular portion of the meeting. Does that sound?
Well, I mean, the budget has largely been decided. There's
That's
other
it.
So we need to just review articles and some other things you asked us to build, like the revolving or sinking loan fund for DPW and some other things like that, that might might initiate a healthy discussion, shall we say.
We want to start our regular meeting at 5:30 and just build that all into our agenda and move through it kind of like we have tonight. Since we're all over the municipal map.
That's totally up to you. We could do that if you'd like. I mean, it doesn't have to be separate.
I guess I just don't want to be constrained to talking about articles and the various different things we want to discuss at 5:30 for only an hour.
Right.
Um,
That's true.
But I mean, we might be done with it. And flip side, it could be, 6:15 or 6:10, and we could be done talking about articles, and we could keep going with the rest of the select board meeting and potentially get back to our families a little sooner.
I think most of us would appreciate that. If not
Yeah.
everyone.
It's not like, I mean, we're doing virtual meetings, so it's not like we have to budget that extra hour for folks to be able to drive down to the town hall to sit with us in person, so.
No, it's true. And this year we have done most of the budget ahead of time. So we're in good shape. I just don't want to shortchange the articles. It's pretty important.
We're gonna move the start time on the 20th up to 5:30 for the regular meeting. We're gonna build everything into the agenda.
Okay.
And that way we're not on till like 9 o'clock. Rather start an hour earlier than end an hour later.
Is it?
Usually we get food when we come in at 5:30, so I'll
Oh,
be expecting
really?
some type of delivery service.
Okay, we can do that.
Um, Oh, okay, so that gets us through schedule. Do you have anything to add to schedule, Gary, or did we hit all the points?
The only other thing I have to add is that we talked about the honor wall in December. Kind of left it open that we needed some more nominations. I can do a couple of them, but some of them I think we'll just need some select board help deciding who we invite. We didn't get a whole host of people asking to be on that committee. So we have approximately 7 positions. to fill. The planning commission forwarded a name, thank you. But we still have someone from the park and rec committee, someone from the fire department, someone from public works. We may be looking at them. Anyone who's
Gary,
on the committee just got appointed. No, and 2 select board members, I think it was, 1 police officer and 2 members of the public, so.
Gary, do you have a regular meeting coming up with Chief Cross this week?
I do. I have one almost every week, so.
Did you ask him to have the department forward on recommendations for that committee and also the police advisory committee so we can get that position filled too? It's not on the agenda, but that's a top priority for us.
Yep.
We've got applicants for a majority of the positions, really good applicants, actually, very good applicants. And, any recruiting that we can do would be helpful. But the fire department, yeah.
I don't think this is a heavy lift. I mean, but it will be a meeting or 2 in the next 90 days, or actually less than that, 60 days. I do also want to say I got confirmation today that sadly we lost a member of our park and rec committee. I'm not sure if that's widely public. This is a fairly closed meeting, but Mike Kane passed away this past weekend. Someone who, although he lived in Fairfax, was a huge volunteer in this area to high school students, children in need. He was a coach. I don't even know. Jessica worked with him most recently on that committee. I'm still pretty sad. I learned about it today. There's going to be an extreme void from all his work. So just wanted to highlight that. I don't know if you had anything to add, Jessica.
No, I mean, it's heartbreaking. It's just, he was such a strong advocate for the community, for any recreation, for kids, wanting to get kids in nature. It really just breaks my heart. It's way too soon. He's just always did so many things for parks and for Rise, and never wanted recognition, never wanted compensation. He was just happy to get people out there with him. It will be a huge void.
And he just had an accident and died suddenly. I don't know how old he was, but I just know it was too soon. So we'll miss him. Anyway, sorry.
Gary, that's really sad. If I could add to Jessica's sentiment, meeting with your town forest working group before Jessica got elected to the select board. Mike was probably the 3rd amigo in your trio. and his willingness to roll up his sleeves himself and to get students from local tech centers involved with trail maintenance, particularly at the 100-acre woods in Fairfax.
Right.
It's also worth noting another sad thing is we lost Tad Redmond within 2 weeks ago. And we'll have to make sure, I got your email, Carrie. I haven't written my report, my letter for the town report yet. It's on my to-do list by the end of the day, Wednesday, but maybe we can put in a nice note about how Mike was literally someone who, you see Carrie, Jessica, and Mike in action, and that literally spawns the idea to form an entire parks committee, which we went and convinced the select board to do. And I don't know that would have happened without witnessing how committed Jessica and Mike in particular were as members of the public. We knew there was an appetite for it. And I remember specifically in a side conversation with a board member referencing Mr. Payne as somebody who, if we could just get a committee off the ground and get 5 guys like him, or woman or whatever, you don't know the benefits that we'll get. So maybe we could even look at naming a trail at the town forest after him for all the hard work he did up there.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
There will be an appropriate and timely response.
Yep.
Very sad.
It is. All right, I have nothing new to add. Thank you for indulging. We have just executive session.
I just want to give everybody an update. I've got a meeting with I'm going to have a quick meeting with the mayor Friday afternoon, just to have a check-in. Wanted you guys to be aware of that. Nothing in particular. I'm not going to commit the town to a pool. I just want to put that out there. But if anybody needs anything from me, I know I tried to take last week off as much as I could. So if I'm missing a beat with staff or any other board members, just give me a ring and I'm right here.
So we'll need 2 people to come in and sign all those warrants as soon as possible, please.
I will be in there tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock if that works.
That works?
And who wants to volunteer to be my?
I'll be there. I'll get there at some point.
Okay, thank you.
Spoken like a true master plumber. But, so does anybody have any other business?
I just had one quick thing. I saw that the DRB approved that Subaru dealership, which is exciting. And I was wondering, I had 2 questions, but the first is exactly where is it? Is it up by Handy's on Route 7 North?
Yeah, across from Walmart.
Oh, okay. So my second question is about our sidewalk impact ordinance, because it's probably too late now since it's approved, but that would have been a great project to build some connectivity up there on Route 7 North. So I was just wondering where that policy is at. So I think we had looked at it and sent it back to the planning board.
I believe we did. We have a master plan, but the ordinance was approved, then revoked, and then there was discussion about whether or not it would be worked on. And I think the board, I'm asking a question, asked the planning commission to look into it, but then we met really very specific with any framework for that. So maybe Erin can tell me what her recollection is.
Yeah, since I can't remember when that last board discussion was, but that hadn't, I think because there wasn't a clear ask specifically for what there was, we just didn't have enough direction, I think, to take it forward. And we had other things we were working on. So I think, I know that I'm not on the planning commission anymore, but I'm sure that the planning commission going forward would look at it if we wanted to ask them to look at that again. But I think they were pretty well caught up with the stormwater utility, and then reorganizing and kind of getting to a point where we had Corey on board.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm just doing a little nudge.
No, that's a good idea.
Oh, okay. So maybe we want to bring this back up I don't know what the timeline should look like, but we're gonna have a very busy February. So I hate to keep saying let's do stuff in February, but let's try to get it on an agenda for February, and if not February, early March, if we can. And try to send something specific to the planning commission, something actionable. We have an issue with the fee structure because, or we have an issue with this part of the ordinance because. Find us a solution, please.
Yep.
That makes sense for everybody to move forward in that direction. Corey, new planning commission staffer?
Yep, we can look into it. I think I'll review. I know I've got meetings with Jess coming up on some of that stuff, and
Call a special meeting. I need it for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, now that that's the new way of doing things, it's my wildest dream. But,
We don't
so
want all the planning commissioners to quit right away. You just need to slow it down just a little bit. That huge stipend you give them isn't quite enough of a carrot.
well, the chair already quit, so how many more do I really have to burn through? I mean, come on now. No, Aaron, I'm just picking. I wish you know what you would say. But does anybody have any other business? I seeing nothing. We need a motion to enter executive session to discuss personnel matters and to invite the town manager. Whoever wants to read the tongue twister.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss legal, contractual, or personnel issues where premature general public knowledge of the subject matter would place the town or persons involved at a substantial disadvantage, and further move to make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss legal, contractual, or personnel issues under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A1 Vermont statutes, and to invite the town manager.
Thank you, Aaron. You need a second.
Second.
Stan raised his hand, so I'm going to give it to Stan.
Ooh, we saw it. Yeah.
Hey,
Paying attention. I'm not down here on my phone.
okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Have a good night. Corey, Jen,